everyone. Today, we are going to explore something that most of us associate with old age. What are those? Memory loss, confusion, and cognitive decline. But I want to start by saying that neurocognitive disorders are not just for older adults. In psychology and medicine, we call them neurocognitive disorders or NCDs for short. These are conditions where a person experiences a decline in how their brain works. In memory, attention, reasoning, or language, well, compared to how they used to function before. What makes this topic fascinating is that it shows how our brains can change due to many different reasons. It could be Alzheimer's disease in an elderly person, a traumatic brain injury in a 25-year old, or even long-term substance abuse in a middle-aged adult. By the end of this lecture, you should be able to tell the difference between major and mild cognitive disorders, understand their diagnostic criteria, and recognize how these conditions affect a person's independence and daily life. But before we go deeper or expand the topic, think about this. What makes ordinary forgetfulness, like kalimot ka sayawi, different from the kind of forgetfulness that signals a neurocognitive disorder? So when we say someone has a neurocognitive disorder, we're talking about a person who has experienced a decline in one or more areas of thinking. Okay? So that were once normal for them, meaning it's normal before, but eventually they had a decline. So this is what DSM-5-TR calls an acquired disorder, which means it develops after a period of normal functioning. It is not something you're born with, like intellectual disability. So, for example, a 40-year-old accountant who was once very sharp with numbers suddenly starts making errors, forgetting deadlines, and misplacing important facts. Or a college student recovering from a motorcycle accident or MVA starts to struggle with concentration and short term memory. Those are potential signs of neurocognitive decline. The DSM divides NCDs into two main types. We talked about it in the previous discussion. So the two main types are the major and the mild. So the difference between them isn't just how bad the memory loss is, it's about how much that decline interferes with a person's ability to live independently. So now, why do you think DSM-5-TR emphasizes that the decline must be from a previous level of functioning? What does that help us rule out? Okay. So when we talk about neurocognitive disorder, one of it is major neurocognitive disorder. Okay. So MNCD, but yeah, it's just the same. Major and minor is still M. So anyway, just major NCD. So this, which you may recognize by its older name, can you guess? It's dementia. The older name is dementia. So, but in DSM-5-TR, we use major NCD because it applies only to older adults with degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, but also to young people whose cognitive abilities were damaged by injury, stroke, or substance abuse. The key major feature of major NCD is significant cognitive decline. So much that the person can no longer function independently. Imagine an elementary teacher who once managed a classroom full of students with ease. Over time, she starts forgetting lesson plans, misplacing student grades, and one day she doesn't remember how to get home. That's more than aging. Okay? That's a serious decline in functioning. People with major NCD usually need help with basic activities like cooking, bathing, or even managing money. Their independence is compromised, and of course, family members often become their caregivers. So, how might losing independence, not just memory, affect a person's confidence or relationships or even identity? On the other hand, we have mild neurocognitive disorder. It is the early or less severe stage. So here, the decline is noticeable, but the person can still live independently. They just have to work harder to do so. For instance, a 35-year-old who had a concussion in a car accident may now rely on alarms, notes to remember meetings, while a senior might forget names or where they place their phone but still manage their finances and can take care of themselves. So these individuals often develop clever coping strategies like keeping a detailed planner, setting reminders, or having family members double check things. The DSM-5TR calls this modest decline because the brain is showing stress but has not lost full function yet. So the risk, however, is that mild NCD can progress into major NCD if the cause is not addressed, which is why early detection is important, as mentioned in my previous discussion. Okay. Okay, now let's talk about the DSM-5TR diagnostic criteria. The DSM-5TR sets clear rules to diagnose both major and mild NCD. And these criteria are what clinicians follow worldwide. So there are four main criteria, A, B, C, and D, and they help us make sure that diagnosis is accurate. Criterion A talks about the evidence of cognitive decline. That means we need proof either from the person, a family member, or formal testing that something has changed. It could be through a neuropsychological test like MoCA. MoCA means Montreal Cognitive Ability Test, or MMSE, or through reports such as my mother can no longer follow a recipe she's cooked for 20 years. Okay, just like that. Criterion B looks at the daily functioning, daily life skills or DLS. For major NCD, the person's decline interferes with independence. They cannot handle bills already, they cannot cook, they cannot cook safely, they drive without risk. For mild NCD, well, the decline doesn't interfere with the causes. Again, the decline doesn't interfere but causes extra effort. They rely on reminders or can take longer to complete tasks. If it is criterion C, it ensures that the decline is not happening only during delirium, which is temporary confusion caused by things like infection or medication. And for the criterion D, it should rule out other causes like major depression or schizophrenia, which can mimic memory loss but have different roots. So overall, diagnosis requires a pattern, real decline or functional impact, not just temporary or not just explained by another condition. So if let's just say, if a 30-year-old recovering from COVID reports brain fog and forgetfulness, but still manages daily life with reminders, does that sound a major or mild? It sounds a mild, right? It's correct. So, what are the common causes? Well, I've discussed the in the previous ones about the major and minor NCD. So just I hope that you can remember. What are the major causes? Well, the major causes is like For the TR or the 5TR, they have listed multiple underlying conditions. So the conditions that you can see in the screen, these are the underlying conditions. Number one, it could be due to Alzheimer's disease. This is the common causing gradual and irreversible decline. It could be vascular diseases or vascular NCD. It's stroke related. It occurs when strokes or blood flow problems damage the brain. That's vascular. If it's Lewy body and Parkinson's diseases, it affects movement and perception. If it's TBI or traumatic brain injury, it's often from accidents or sports. It can cause long-term executive dysfunction even in adults. For substance use, HIV pa di. So for HIV infections, it it can cause brain inflammation that disrupts cognitive function. HIV, again, it targets your immune system. Now, let's talk about substance or medication use. It can also damage brain tissue over time, especially if you use alcohol, inhalants, or sedatives. And then, genetic and prion diseases, the Huntington's, it's genetic. No? Though it is rare, it can lead to rapid and severe decline. So remember, neurocognitive disorder is a category and not one single disease. We always specify what caused it. To measure severity, clinicians use cognitive testing tools like MMSE or mini mental state examination. Let's break it down, no? A score below 10, this one below 10 on top, suggests severe major NCD. So the person is fully dependent in all of the activities. Score of 10 to 18, it indicates moderate impairment. They may still talk or eat alone but can manage self-care. For 19 to 26 score or range, it means mild major NCD. It struggles with complex tasks but can handle basics. If it's 27 to 30, it often corresponds with mild NCD functioning. Like independently, meaning they would show independency, but it would show decline. Okay. We can also specify if the condition is with behavioral disturbance, meaning symptoms like agitation, aggression, or apathy are present. That's important because behavior can dramatically affect how caregivers cope. What are the tools? So to diagnose NCD, clinicians do not rely on one test. It's a combination of neuropsychological testing, interviews and medical exams, and informant reports. Informant reports could be your parents, teachers, or others. A psychologist might use the MoCA or Montreal Cognitive Assessment tool to measure attention, memory, and visual spatial skills, or the Wechsler Memory Scale to test recall. So doctors may order a CT or MRI to look for stroke or brain injury. Family members provide crucial context like noticing repetitive questions or personality changes. When you diagnose, it is like a detective work. We need to gather clues from multiple sources to build a full picture of our cognitive health. Okay, treatment depends on the cause, but the goals are always the same. Preserve function, maintain dignity, and support the family. If you do medical interventions, you need to treat underlying causes like controlling blood pressure for vascular NCD and medications like for cholinesterase inhibitors for Alzheimer's. So psychological interventions include cognitive stimulation, memory training, and behavioral therapy to to manage moods. So environmental strategies matter too. Simple routines, good lighting, labeled drawers, and consistent caregivers are all helpful. So family education is vital. Many caregivers experience stress or guilt, so part of treatment is helping them understand the condition and eventually find support. So while mild NCD can go in different directions. Some people recover, for example, after injury or substance detox, while others remain stable for years. But in degenerative cases like Alzheimer's, the decline is progressive and irreversible. Again, it is important to have early detection and management can slow the progression and keep the person safe longer. So mild NCD is often a window for opportunity. So it's like a time to act before major decline sets in. Okay, I hope it's clear. Well, we will talk about the we will talk about the specific neurocognitive disorders. Okay, I hope that you're still listening. Okay. So for the specific neurocognitive disorder. So since there are actually major types, right? So the general types are the major and mild. So let's understand deeper, no, at the specific disorders under NCD category. Not all memory loss or confusion is the same class. For some people, it is caused by disease like Alzheimer's. For others, it is due to strokes, injuries, or infections. The DSM-5T groups them based on the cause, and that's what we will focus today. Learning to tell them apart easily, meaning comparisons. Okay. So, what do you think of dementia? So, what kind of image comes to your mind? Probably it's only about old age. Like, it is memory loss, confusion, or something else ba? Okay. Um, so Alzheimer's disease is what people or most people imagine when they hear dementia. So it starts slowly, maybe forgetting where you put your keys or repeating the same stories, and over years it gets worse. It's caused by protein buildups that make brain cells lose connection with each other. So at first, it's just a short-term memory that goes, but later it affects reasoning, speech, and even recognition of loved ones. There is actually no cure, but early support and cognitive abilities can slow it down. Okay, so let's just say that Alzheimer's is a library, or no, the memory were a library. So Alzheimer's removes the newest books first and slowly empties the shelves. So you need to remember the key term to remember. Alzheimer's is gradual, steady, and irreversible. So vascular NCD happens when the brain is not getting enough blood and oxygen. It's often from mini strokes or major stroke. Unlike Alzheimer's, this one doesn't progress smoothly. Instead, it's like a staircase. There's a sudden drop after a stroke, then the person stabilizes, then another drop later on. The symptoms depend on the part of the brain affected. One person might have memory problems, another may have speech or movement issues. Okay. So, let's analyze. Imagine a light, no, kanang suga ba nga, mag-flicker gani. Every time the power surges, same like CIT, di ba, mag-flicker. That's how the brain behaves in vascular NCD. So key to remember is it is vascular, stepwise or after stroke, and with physical symptoms. How about Lewy bodies? Lewy bodies. It's Lewy body disease. The keywords here are the fluctuating attention, visual hallucination, Parkinson's like movements. So Lewy body is tricky, 'di ba? Parkinson's like na. It looks like Alzheimer's, but with hallucinations and fluctuations. So one day the person seems fine, the next day they are disoriented or seeing things. They may see children, animals, or people who aren't really there, and they often move more stiffly. So it is caused by protein buildups called Lewy bodies. That's why it is called Lewy body disease. So it disrupts the brain communication. So remember, if it's Lewy body, it is hallucinations plus fluctuating alertness. Now, in Parkinson's, the body forgets how to move before the mind forgets how to think. So it starts with tremors or stiff, like being stiff. People shuffle when walking or struggling with fine motor task. One time, uh, cognition begins to decline, but it comes after years of motor symptoms, meaning ulahi ang motor symptoms. So we often see this in older adults, but remember, Parkinson's affect movement first, thinking they are the second. Okay, so key to remember Parkinson's is movement first and then memory will be messed up after. So TBI related NCD can happen at any age. It's one of the few causes common in adults after like car wash or just hide, no, fall, or even some severe sports or extreme sports. People may seem fine physically, but notice they are different mentally. They can't focus, they lose patience easily, or they even forget things they once handled easily. So if the frontal lobe is affected, impulse control and decision making gets worse. So improve and but others may live with long-term deficits. Okay. When substance use is long-term, the brain literally wears out. Chronic alcohol use is the most common cause. It damages neurons and starves the brain of vitamin B1, or that's called thiamine. These patients often can't form new memories, so they make up stories instead. That's called confabulation. Okay? Other substances like solvents, sedatives, and drugs can have similar effects if abused for years. So the key to remember is long-term use and memory gaps, which is called confabulation. Okay. Okay. So how about for NCD due to HIV infection? So HIV doesn't just attack the immune system, it can also affect the brain too. In advanced stages, patients may think more slowly, move awkwardly, or have problems concentrating. This is sometimes called HIV related or associated neurocognitive disorder. So the good news, with early treatment, many cases improve or stabilize. Now, from probably you're familiar with Huntington's disease. It is actually discussed in the DEV psych. So, Huntington's disease is a tragic one because it it has passed down genetically. If one parent has it, each child will have 50% chance of inheriting it. It usually appears in midlife, starting with irritability, depression, or then uncomfortable movements like chorea. Chorea is CHO Rhea. Okay. Eventually, it will affect memory and thinking too. There's no cure, but supportive therapy helps manage symptoms. Prion diseases are extremely rare, but terrifyingly fast. They are caused by misfolded proteins called prions that spread like infection, destroying the brain tissue. Unlike Alzheimer's, which takes years, diseases progress in months. So confusion, jerking movements, and then death. Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease is the best known example. Okay. So here's the chart. This table sums it up all, no? The focus is on onset, pattern, and unique signs. That's how you tell them apart. Ask yourself 3 questions. How did it start? How fast is it progressing? What stands out the most? If you're able to answer that, that's actually good. Okay. So remember, these are not just brain disorders, they are human stories. When someone forgets who you are and they are not being difficult, their brain is losing its roadmap. Our role as future practitioners, no? Nurses and clinicians is to understand the differences, no? Recognize numbers, and most of all, respond with empathy. Okay, so I hope you're able to understand. If not, please just read DSM-5TR. Thank you so much and have a great day, class.